Come on, internet. Okay, let's see. We are going to get into this. Hi, everyone. I'm Natalie, and I'm just clicking around here to make sure this is up. Here we go. It is. So today I'm going to show you how I do my little vinyl overlays on bags. I've been doing this a while. Ooh, I need to catch my breath. I ran downstairs because I wanted to show you how I package my vinyl. This is 10 gauge clear vinyl from my shop at sohungryhippie.com. And I roll it up like this and package it in a baggie. Sometimes the baggie can look a little cloudy. I think it's just temperature. I live in Wisconsin. One day it's 60, one day it's 95 and you're dying. So just understand the vinyl itself is clear. It sews well. It's wonderful. If by chance ever it shows up with a wrinkle or ridges, or I don't even know what to say because it really doesn't, but if it does, you can just use a hair dryer and warm it up or put it in a windowsill with the sun and it'll flatten and smooth out again. It's awesome. So let's get back to the task. I'm just going to show you really quickly how I do these bags. This is my essential tote pattern without the pockets, okay? I make these totes because they're fast and I use them at self-checkout in the grocery line. Our grocery store, just like nobody's working anymore. And so I always go through self-checkout. And those little bins, I put my bags, and with the vinyl, it has enough body to stand up so I can just throw things in easily. Yeah, so that's what I do. And I'm in and out in a few minutes. So that is about my vinyl. I use 10 gauge because it's 0.35 millimeters thick, which means it's still, you could make a bag with it on its own and be fine. Hi Pat. And you can also use it incorporated in bags. So the 10 gauge I really, really like. I've switched to that. I've used 20, I've used 12, but I really like the 10 gauge for bag making. So let's get to it. These blocks are New York Beauty quilt blocks that my friend Go Kim made and decided to send to me because she has too many things to do. So I said, heck yeah, I'll use those. So it's just a big quilt block. Now this block is 16 inches, so it's a little bit modified from my Essentials tote pattern. On this bag, you can see that I added borders. I just did some patchwork borders here on the side and the bottom to make it a full-size Essentials tote. But on this one today, I'm just gonna sew these together and I'm gonna show you what I do. So first of all, I iron the heck out of that quilt block to make it flat and smooth, and then I fuse fusible fleece interfacing. You can use any interfacing you want. SF101, you can use foam, you can use whatever you want. I just like fusible fleece because it's super easy to sew, it's super soft, and with the vinyl, the bag actually doesn't need the foam to stand up. A lot of bags you do want to use that foam stuff, and it's amazing and easy to sew also. But when you're using this as an overlay, it adds body and structure, so you don't need it. And I'm all about saving money, you know what I mean? So I'm also going to be using my glitter webbing for easy straps. I don't know why, but when I make bags, a lot of times the last few steps, like adding straps, making straps, oh, it gets so annoying. I'm just ready to be done. So that's why I like the webbing. My webbing is a cotton acrylic mix, so you can take a lighter to these ends. See how the ends, I just cut them and they're fraying a bit. Sometimes I just use a freight check on there, which is around here somewhere, who knows, probably downstairs. And sometimes I just take a lighter and burn it really quickly. We did that in the military, didn't we, Pat? You had to singe your paracord, your ripcord, all kinds of stuff. Lighters are handy. So make sure you have your Wonder Clips. I get asked every time, but just as a reminder, I have that free guide for sewing vinyl at sewhungryhippie.com. There's a PDF you can print off if you need to tape it on a wall next to you like I do. Well, not for that, but I like to have printed reminders around me because if I don't use it, I'll lose it. But a few of the tips in there are using a all-purpose thread. I happen to like Gutermann. It works for my machines, all the different brands machines. It's all-purpose with poly, so it's strong. This thread is not going to break. If you only have cotton quilting thread, that might fail if you're doing vinyl work. So just an FYI. You also want to have various wonder clips. I really like this size. It's not quite massively jumbo. You can see the size difference here. But I use all the different sizes. Here's regular, here's massive jumbo, here's jumbo. I like different colors. And I just buy these a lot. I just have them everywhere, wherever I work. I cut my vinyl with my Havells rotary cutter. It's fine. I don't notice that it dulls it anymore. If you want to have a separate cutter, you can. You can also just use normal scissors. I do have Teflon coated scissors for the vinyl that is really sticky, but this isn't. So it's okay. Hi everyone. Hi. I'm trying to get through this quickly. It's super hot in my room today. I know I say that every time, but what's funny is it's been really nice and cool all week. And then last night it just kind of blew up and we're going to be 90 today again. So I'm just getting through it. Julie, I was thinking about you yesterday because I was looking at the Weather Channel and thinking you were down there and having all those floods and stuff. Let me get some of these comments. If you're on Facebook, I can see your comments. If you're on my YouTube channel right now, I can't see comments. So just an FYI. All right. Hi. Yeah, I love these blocks. These are New York Beauty blocks. And Kim does all kinds of sewing. Go Kim on Instagram. She does clothes, she does quilts, she does bags, kind of like me. We want to do all the things because we just never want to be bored, right? Yes, I love doing this. It's really fun. And a lot of times when hi Debbie, a lot of times when I make a quilt block, I find, okay, that was fun, but I don't want to do it 16 times to make a quilt. So I like using it in something else. Hi Kathleen. Hello everyone. Thanks for showing up on this Friday morning. Hi Kara in Chicago. It's funny, I always say Chicago time instead of, I guess Central Standard Time is no longer set. It's Central Daylight Time or something, but I'm just like, Chicago time, okay? Hi Kathleen. No, my friend Go Kim made this block. She made 4 of them and sent them to me because she wasn't going to make a whole quilt. So I wanted to show the same blocks. I mean, they're slightly different, but the bag example the photo that I showed yesterday. And yes, these bags are lined. I just use quilting cotton for the inside. Machine handles it just fine. So we're in a heat wave. Oh my gosh, that is so hot. Wow. Stay cool. Oh, I should do a block like this live. Hi, Connie. What a pretty picture. That's a good idea. That's a good idea for a follow-up week, is doing one of these blocks live. That would be fun. Okay, so let's get to it. So I'm laying my vinyl over top the block. The block is already interfaced with fusible fleece, like I said. And then I'm going to line up the edges here so I can start clipping. As you can see, I cut the vinyl larger than the block, and I'm going to trim that down as I work around the block. So I'm just going to turn it. This edge, okay, so this edge, I know this is going to be a little hard to see. There's the reflection. I'm going to trim it down just like this so it's flush with that vinyl and quilt block there. See, now I'll just use all the different sizes, doesn't matter. And I like to use a lot of clips. It helps me out. Okay, now this side, I'm a little extra here too. My rolls are 18 inches by 48 inches. So you will get a full bag plus have a little left over. And you can use the leftovers to make like a clear zipper case. I showed those tutorials before, and I have videos on my YouTube showing you how to make little 10-minute clear see-through zipper cases. I have one in my bag. I have all my essentials in there, like chapstick, my pocket knife, my toothbrush, stuff like that. I really do carry that all the time with me. Hand sanitizer, I keep it in there. Okay, so I'm just gonna pitch that. Now, the block is totally covered in vinyl, and we're gonna take it to the machine. And what we're gonna do is just sew all around this outer edge. It doesn't have to be something crazy like 1/8 of an inch. It can be a 1/4 inch seam if you want it, if you feel better with that. The more you do this, the more you'll get used to it. So let's do, I'm gonna show this foot. This is number one. This is essential if you're gonna sew vinyl. You have to get a Teflon foot. They're not super expensive, but you do wanna get the correct one for your machine and your brand and your model, your make. I don't recommend getting a knockoff on Amazon, like, you know, general use Teflon foot fits all low shank machines or whatever your machine is. I don't recommend that because I had a bad experience and almost broke my machine using an imposter foot. Tools are worth the money. Get the good tools, get the correct foot for your machine. Some companies call it nonstick glide foot. They might not call it Teflon foot, but it has a Teflon coating. So that's what it is. Now, I'm on a 3mm stitch length with vinyl. It's important that your stitch length is not super small because then you're just perforating the vinyl and it'll tear and rip away. So think of it like big enough to, well, just big enough not to be too small to perforate, but small enough to hold your bag together. I've never, ever had a problem with 3mm. It's what I use on almost everything except paper piecing. That's the only time I go smaller. It's also a nice stitch length to unpick if you make a mistake. As you can see, there's, oh, can you see? Let me get you closer here. These are the times I need an assistant. Maybe I can zoom in a bit, you know? And let's move. My Janome is in the shop this week, so I'm showing you on my Bernina. And this machine is not a fancy machine. It's it's basic. It's a 1008. I've had a couple of these because if I see them on eBay, I grab them. If I see them in a shop, I grab them. They're mechanical, heavy workhorse machines. This thing will sew through anything, basically. My Janome could sew through it too. It's just it had to have maintenance. They told me I was too hard on it. Story of my life. Okay, so you want to stop with your needle down, lift your foot, and turn. And I just remove the clips as I go. Needle down, lift the foot, and turn. And we're almost back. I'm not having any problems at all. There's no sticking, there's no bubbling. You can always go back in and trim away excess vinyl if you need to. So it's always an option. I'm not pulling on it. I should have my extension table up. That would be a little easier, but I forgot that. So I'm just supporting it. I'm not pushing or pulling. All right, and that's done. And it's on, and we just treat it like a normal bag exterior now. It's that easy. So I'm going to trim my threads away. I'm just going to do a little inspection, make sure that the edges are flush and even. Looks good. I do patchwork my interfacing also. Use every last bit. So I just want to make sure I hit all the layers. It's all good. Looks good. Okay. So I already did this one. So now I'm just going to proceed with making the bag. Now I have a square, and this design does not have a top or a bottom. It's fine. So I'm just going to place them right sides together and use clips again. Now I have some excess vinyl here. I'm going to trim away so that it's easy to sew these. And this video is always up, you guys. If you have to pop out like Kathleen does, it's no worries. You can always come back anytime. It'll be on the So Hungry Hippie Facebook page and my YouTube channel. Sometimes you have to do a little bit of a search, but it's always there. So as reminders, I clip sides and bottom. Remember, the top we leave open. I'm too close now. All right, so now we're gonna sew sides and bottom. And then we'll cut our corners, our boxed corners, just like I did with the lining, and our bag will be able to stand up. This is the lining, by the way. I used a Victoria Finley Wolf fabric that I really like. Okay, so I'm gonna sew the bottom first, just so it doesn't shift. And I'm just making sure that I either sew directly on the based, it's not really basting, but I'll call it that. Where we basted the vinyl on, I either sew directly on that or just outside. You want to sew just a smidge. Am I saying that right? You don't want that to show. So make your seam allowance a tiny bit bigger. It's not much bigger, but it's a tiny bit bigger. And you can use your regular foot now if you want to, or a walking foot if it's easier for you. But I just leave my Teflon foot on. I leave it on a lot, actually, because it's like a normal foot. So the bottom is sewn up, and now I'm going to do this side since it's right here. Still using that 3mm stitch length. Once it's set, I forget, and we just sew. Nothing tricky. Okay, one side is sewn. And see, good thing I put the clips already, because you can sometimes by accident sew the top closed. So just remember, leave one edge open. Now I started on the bottom and sewed up on this. So I'm going to do the same over here. Oops. And you can lock stitch or back stitch if you want to, but we're gonna hit that seam again when we put the bag together. So if I'm gonna hit it again, a lot of times I don't mess with it. So here's the top. Make sure you have the top at the top before you do your boxed corners. You might even want to mark it like with a T, or put a I don't know, something there to remind you. And then we're going to measure our boxed corners. So on the full size bag, I do 3-inch boxed corners, but this one is a little smaller. Like I said, it's 16 inches. So I'm going to make my boxed corners 2.5 boxed. So I measure from the very outer edge. There's 2.5. And I really should show you the good way to do this. Always draw and measure first, right? And 2.5. There's one. I'm going to do this to the other side. Sorry, I'm so close. I need camera crew. 2.5. 2.5. There we go. I have a little acrylic square that's 2.5. I should have brought that up. That'd be super easy. Make sure they're the same size. And just like a lot of other tutorials I've shown you, I like doing boxed corners this way. I just find it's much more accurate. It's better for me. It's just like some pattern writers, you just click with, and others you just don't get it, or it's much, much more effort. I was talking to a friend about that the other day, and I'm like, I don't know what it is, but this person, I can't understand them very well. It's very difficult for me. Whereas another person, I just get it right away. It's almost like I don't even have to read the pattern. I just know. And I just think it's because our brains are different. So if you want to make your boxed corners in a different method, go right ahead. I'm going in there and I'm making sure that I've got all the layers on this side and then all the layers on this side. So the vinyl, you'll feel it there. Make sure it's not all pushed over to one side. Make sure you've got your layers sorted, and then nest your seams, just like last week. I think we did this. I've got a fun tutorial for you next week on something like literally 10 minutes to wear using a t-shirt. Super fun. Okay, I'm gonna just sew right across there. I'll lay it down here. Sew right across there. And then flip it and sew right across there. And then our exterior bag is pretty much done. You might need to use one of those jump pump, what are they called, jean majigs, to get your foot level at this point with all these layers. I don't have to. This machine can handle it just fine. Some machines, if you're breaking your needle, that means your sewing foot is doing this. That's usually what'll break it. It's not the layers. It's because your foot is not level. So you can buy those plastic things to make the back of the foot raise up so that your foot is level. Yeah, I know one is called a jeans majig, but there's probably a million notions out there. Okay, there we go. And then this seam, I gotta make sure that these seams are nested. Hi everyone, I'm trying to go back and forth. Are you using Microtex needles? No, I'm not. I don't do that most of the time. I know a lot of people that are bag makers swear by Microtex. I find most of the time, I don't need it. If I'm running into issues with a bag process or the material, then I'll try the Microtex. But like 96% of the time, I'm using a universal Schmetz size 80 normal needle. I buy them in packs of 100 and I just use that. I do change my needles. You do have to change your needles. You can't use the same needle 100 times. You know, I change mine probably once a week, but I sew almost every day. So there's that. All right, now I'm gonna leave this exterior bag like this, all right? As you can see, it stands up just fine. Let me move this a bit. And I'm gonna back this up again so that I'm not all up in your face. Okay, so here we go. I've got my lining and I've got my handles. Now, I did my shoulder straps the same as my other bag. They're a bit longer. You might want to make them shorter. It's up to you. I like this length for carrying things. It's comfortable for me. So my straps are 33 inches long. So I have glitter webbing in my shop. I have it in 5-yard bundles, and shortly I'm going to be listing 10-meter bundles for quite a savings. Yeah, I think if you're a sewist and you're making things, just get 10 meters because you're going to use it. It's useful for so many things. So let's turn our lining right side out. The bag is pretty much almost done. What you have to decide now is if you're going to sew your webbing straps in or your fabric straps now, or if you want to add them later. I'm just really partial to riveting mine on. It's fast and easy, and I can get placement exactly how I want it for that bag. But I'm going to show you, well, do I? I guess we can just add it here. I should have just added it before we sewed the bag together. What I usually, on the big normal size, I do 4 inches in from the side seam. But on this one, that might be a little large. So I think I would do 3 inches in. But I already turned that, so we're going to add those at the end. Oh, there's so many ways you can add straps. You can add them to the bag before you sew it together. You can add them after the whole bag is complete with another method, sewing or rivets, or you can add them slipping it in, like leaving a little opening. Let's put our lining and our exterior right sides together. I'm just going to tuck that guy in there. First thing I do is match those side seams, and I put clips there. Now I tend to put the lining seam this way and the exterior seam this way. I don't split the exterior seam like a quilter would. I don't recommend that because it's just stressing that seam and it's going to fail eventually. So personal pref. I'm going to match this side. And then I work my way around. And we're almost there. Have any of you made a vinyl overlay bag? I know I'm not I definitely am not the first person to ever think of this at all. I've been making bags like this for about 10 years. And I know somebody's going to ask about the iron-on vinyl, and I've done 3 or 4 of those, and I used to sell them at craft fairs. But what I found with repeated use is that iron-on vinyl, especially down at the bottom and the side seams, will tend to flake and start peeling off, and then your bag looks garbagey. So I don't recommend iron-on vinyl if you want it to last a while. If you don't care, if you're like, whatever, I just want something easy, or if you just want to try it, like, go ahead, do it. It's your life. Do what you want. I am a full advocate of playing and exploring and messing around and finding what you like best, because it definitely won't be what somebody else likes best. Okay, our top is clipped, ready to sew. Now what I didn't, okay, I'll show you that in a minute. I'm gonna sew all the way around. I think it's easier to sew the top all the way around and unpick the lining bottom a little bit and then birth the bag that way. I used to leave an opening in the top, and I found that a lot of times it's really hard to get that really, really even. And I did tell you I was going to show you a way to insert the webbing. Should we do that? So sometimes what I'll do, because this is going to go in like this later, right? So I will measure now and mark. Where's my marking tool? I'll just use this Sharpie. My iron-on pens are not working lately. I'm going to measure 3 inches in. And then this is 1.25 inches. So I'll just leave like a little reminder there. And then 3 inches in. 1, 2, 3. So that's on, what I'll do is I'll sew up to here, backstitch, leave this open, start here, backstitch, and keep going, backstitch, leave this open, start here, backstitch, and carry on, and the same for the other side. 2, 3. So I'll put an O there, leave that open. And I am measuring from that outermost edge. 1, 2, 3. That will leave open. You might want to add more clips at this point. It's up to you. Okay, we're going to sew this together. If you have an extension table, you'll want to take that off now so that the bag can fit in here. Kathy made a zipper pouch with a vinyl overlay, which ended up a front pocket. Yeah, I mean, okay, let me decide which side. I like to start at a side seam also. This is a trick I've kind of learned. When I was first making bags, sometimes I would find that I'd have a little bubble or wrinkle wherever I started and stopped. So now, if that happens to me, I always start and stop by a side seam, because that I don't have to just mow over a wrinkle and have a permanent wrinkle there. I can adjust my seam allowance, whether I have to unpick a little bit or sew a bigger seam allowance on that side seam. Nobody ever would find that or see the microscopic 1/4 inch or whatever difference from the other side. I hope I'm being clear. I'm having trouble finding my words this week. I don't know what's going on. It's been like permanent summer break for 18 million months. Okay, so again, we have that stitching line along the top from where we sewed the vinyl on. So you want to be just a little bigger seam allowance than that so it doesn't show. Whenever you stop, you want to have your needle down. This machine doesn't have that automatic feature, so I have to tap the pedal to keep the needle down. Oh, you're so welcome. I hope you do like the lives. Feel free to share this with your friends. You guys, it does help. I often think, oh, I should advertise or I should do something to try and grow, and I just always get stuck. So I really depend on my friends to share things. So if you do that, thank you, thank you, thank you. And little things like liking, that makes such a difference in those weird techie algorithm things. I don't know, I make my husband like my videos and he could care less. We're almost done with this. Oh, and then I forgot to stop. That's okay. So I sewed right over my little reminder because I was thinking about something else. That's okay, I can just unpick it. Did I? Okay, here we are. When I sewed that lining bag together, I do take just a slightly larger seam allowance than the exterior bag. It's just slight, but I feel like it makes a tighter lining. I don't cut the lining smaller because I just had issues where my bags don't fit as well for some reason. It's probably my air cutting or something, but my method of just taking a slightly larger seam allowance on the lining works for me. Might work for you. I feel like I sewed this already. Let me check. Yep. Okay, so that's all sewn. Here's my little scalpel that I like to use, Havel's scalpel. So like I said, I was chatting and didn't pay attention here. So that's a webbing hole there. I did it here too, you guys. Gosh. Live sews are funny because it's like I'm the cameraman and the interaction person and the doer. It's a lot. Oh, I did it there too. 3 out of 4. Gosh. I did one right. I do the same. Yes, exactly. Just like it already. Let's see here. So now I'm just going to unpick about 6 inches in the lining of the bottom of the lining. Some people do it on the side of the bag, and I've done that a few times. But I just like the bottom. You know, stuff is always in my bags. I don't see the bottom. And as you probably know about me already, I'm not a super perfectionist. So if I see a seam in the bottom of my bag, I don't really care. It's going to be used. It's like my quilts. I don't care if I made a mistake. Nobody's really going to notice except me or professional quilters. It's going to get used. Okay, so there's the hole. I think I can get it open with that big. I think that's about 4 inches. If you have trouble turning your bag, you want to do what I did before. Stick the nozzle of the hairdryer in here, warm up that vinyl, get it real malleable, and then turn. I don't think I'll have a problem with this. The 10 gauge is nice and malleable, or, you know, it's not super stiff. This is the part I usually speed up in edited videos. Just crunch it down. And if you have to make your bottom opening bigger, just go ahead and make it bigger. It can be sewn shut. All right, so it's through. Now I'm just going to pull it. I love this orange fabric. You know, I've said orange is not a color I would usually choose for stuff, but I really like it when it's done right. It is so pretty. I love neon orange too. I just love it. Your room will not be 87, so it'll go a little smoother for you. There we are. I just take time to poke my fingers in these corners and push them all out. A lot of times people don't take enough time doing that portion, and you'll be able to tell in your finished bag. So just, you can even use a pointer tool if you want, but you know, my index finger, my thumb works just fine. Okay, there's that, and I kind of feel the seams, make sure I have everything. Somebody's gonna ask, you know, why didn't I quilt the quilt block? You can totally quilt it. This was a spur of the moment thing, and I didn't have time to quilt it yesterday. So at this point, you can tuck in your lining bottom and sew that closed. And then you will tuck this into the bag, and then do take the time to get this top edge really nice and straight, and make sure your lining is tucked all the way down in there. What I usually do is grab my goddess sheet or a Teflon baking sheet from Amazon. They're $5 or something. And I lay that right over the vinyl, and then I'll iron it real quick, like little bursts. And that will get it really sharp looking. Oh, and sometimes, you know, another thing I do is I'll take clips and I'll do this and let it sit overnight. And that will work too. So will heavy books. If you get all that really nice and then lay some really heavy books on it overnight, it'll look really crisp. You can top stitch that for sure. I will, because I have to tuck in my straps still. So we're almost there. It's almost done. Remember those holes I left? I'm going to tuck in my webbing, and I always give myself at least an inch of webbing inside the bag. The worst thing is when you just barely tuck it in, you know, you hardly have anything there. That webbing will eventually pull apart. So give yourself at least an inch, maybe two, tuck that in there. It has to be the same all around. So I'll mark it here and put it to the mark. So let me show you what that means, what I'm talking about. I will mark it, here's an inch. And then I'm gonna tuck that inside so that inch mark is just covered. And then as I top stitch all the way around the bag, I'm catching that webbing, and then next step I come in usually and do an X. Straps get a lot of wear and stress, and you just want to make sure they're in there really nicely. You could also add rivets for extra support if you want. Okay, so there's that side. Let's do the other side. I don't think I'll bore you guys with showing you me sewing this all the way in and all the way around. You get the idea. But hopefully these little tips will help you. And also give you some confidence. Like now that you've seen me sew the vinyl and how easy it was, hopefully somebody is like, oh, that's not hard. Why did I think it was hard? Nope. Correct tools make a huge difference. So download that PDF off my website. It's called, I think on the top menu bar, it's Vinyl Sewing Tips. And then you open up the post and you'll see the link. And share, because it's fun. And you know, vinyl bags will last a long time. And they're fun to give as gifts because I think the young kids really like the look of that, kind of that jelly 80s look. I like it. Trending, it's trending. I know my straps look long, but I know myself and I like this length. So feel free to adjust your length. You may want a little hand strap length. And that's it. That's literally it. It is so simple. So just to recap, 10 gauge vinyl. I have it at So Hungry Hippie. It is super crystal clear. I hope you guys can see that. It's super crystal clear. It comes in a roll. You only need one roll to make a full-size bag. You'll have a bit left over for other tutorials. All-purpose poly thread, such as Gutermann, which is what I use. Universal needle, size 80, works just fine. If you want to use a Microtex, it's not wrong. You do you. Teflon sewing foot, an absolute must. If you get nothing else, get the Teflon sewing foot. For the layers in the bag, you might want to have a jeans majig to lift your foot in the back to make it even, so you're not breaking any needles. I don't have a problem on this machine. I think if you have an older machine, you're probably better off. I mean, I don't know if I'm just biased, but it seems like a lot of newer machines are so much plastic that they're not heavy like this. They don't have that oomph. It's like horsepower. It's kind of like a Cutlass from the 70s versus like a Prius now. Nothing against Prius. I like them. But it's just different. It's just different. So play around and see what you like and let me know if you make one. Yes, I love the look with the layering too. I think it's really cool. It has kind of that dimensional, you know, sometimes this will kind of puff out. See how it's kind of, there it is. It's kind of dimensional. And these beautiful quilt blocks are forever protected. That's what I really love, because even though quilting cotton is washable, how many times do I wash a bag? Like, I'll tell you, 0. That's how many times. I got enough laundry to do. Exactly. Lip smackers, flip flops, and sunglasses. That's so funny. This is lip smackers, I believe. Yep, exactly. And you know, I do the vinyl Santorini totes all the time for poolside. That's a free tutorial also. It's at sohungryhippie.com. If you hit tutorials, there's the Santorini tote with just clear vinyl, like one layer. You don't do an interior. So it's ultra, ultra fast. Feel free to use that, share it, pin it, whatever you want to do. I appreciate it. Strength and durability. Exactly. Yeah. My friend's mom had this old Kenmore, and I told her, do not get rid of that. Do not get rid of that. That thing is heavy and metal and awesome. The motors. I think the motors are just superior. Oh, that would be awesome, Debbie. Totally. With an embroidery design on some fabric. That's a great idea. I want to see that. So I think that's it, you guys. I kept you 48 minutes, but I think you got some value out of this, and I appreciate you being here. I promise to have a really short tutorial next week. It's really short and super fun, and I'll be posting about that soon. So if you have any questions or you want to email me something, I'm at natalie@sohungryhippie.com. And I will see you soon. All right. Stay cool, stay safe, and see you next week.